All right, guys, we are live.
Okay, awesome. Well, welcome everyone to the Newbie Real Estate Investor Podcast. Here with me, I'm Johnathan Boyle. We have my co-hosts Gherald, Joe, and special guest Danielle. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. Oh.
Yeah. So, I guess let's just get down straight to it. So, Danielle, welcome to the podcast, and can you tell the audience what you do for a living?
Thank
Put
you.
her right in the hot seat.
My name is Danielle Piccolo. I actually say that I market properties and sell lifestyles. I think it's more than just real estate, especially in this market where at least every person knows about 12 agents themselves, right? So just like your market, very competitive. So the best thing you can do is the more people you know, the better service you provide, the more referrals come in. So I work for Coldwell Banker in Westfield. That is one of the bigger branches in Westfield as far as agent count and volume. Very competitive office, but keeps you moving, which is great.
Nice.
It's a great neighborhood.
Yeah, it is
Union
nice.
County in general.
Yeah. Union County is great, especially I think for families because they have the magnet school systems at a Scotch Plains campus. So if your child is upper echelon in education, they can utilize the STEM, or if they want to go into any kind of trade, they also have that component. So great opportunity for families to be able to give their kid a wide variety of options.
I come from New York City. We just know about high school. Public high school, and if you're lucky, you went to Catholic school.
You're right. Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I come from Belleville, so that's like just as bad as Newark almost. But all jokes aside, so wait, what made you want to get into real estate?
I'm not sure exactly sometimes. So I was a cosmetologist my whole life. I graduated cosmetology school in my high school, which was wonderful. Went to Vidal Sassoon, worked for years at really some top salons. My mother was a realtor in Middlesex County. I watched her literally write all over her hand back in the day before they even had a Palm Pilot. This was back when they didn't have phones. You were literally going through pages of books for houses. Watched her take phone calls on Christmas Eve, on Easter weekends, and thought I would never do that job. It's like, and then I turned 40, and hairstyling is on your feet and your back, and it's great. And it's clientele, which is wonderful because that's what you need as people. But I figured let me go in to get my license. So I did, and it's been good for me. It's a nice segue, I think, to hair and house, your assets, I call them. You have to immediately get to know somebody, and they have to trust you, right? So any relationship is based on communication and trust, and that's what I think makes me a great agent. Is I'm really communicative, and I have a lot of empathy and understanding for the process, and just how much emotional integrity, time, and I think emotions are wrapped up in a house sometimes. And to leave, like as you had mentioned with your mom not wanting to get rid of your family home.
I thought it was just the client would say, "I want that one." And then 30 days, it was theirs.
Yeah. I wish. In this market, it's really hard. You got 30 offers. You got people competing, waiving appraisals, taking away inspections. It's a very competitive market for a buyer right now.
Now, what type of tips or things that you picked up from your mom?
I guess I picked up from my mom is not doing everything yourself. Like she was one of those realtors that I think stretched herself too thin and then burnt herself out. So I think it's really important to make sure you match up with people and they help you out through the process.
Like-minded people that you can.
Right. To maybe not be a control freak and to give a little bit away, like not being at every inspection, although I think it's important sometimes to always have skin in the game as a realtor, to never just be transactional, to always be like in it so you can understand things. But I think for my mom, I learned just always be yourself. And they may not always choose you. I don't go on every listing appointment and get it. But the people I work with refer me and come back to me. And that's how you build your business in this market.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes perfect sense. So in the West, okay, so I know you mentioned that like in real estate for you right now, it's still extremely competitive market. I'd have to kind of like disagree it from at least what we've been seeing. What markets are you typically in at the moment?
So I guess it's price points is where you're going to see a lot different. So my price points, my average selling house is about $525. So I'm in that middle price point where it's a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of beginner housing, which is more competitive than your $1 million homes. So I think to be competitive, I have to do reverse marketing. A lot of times if I know you're looking for a 4-bedroom house with a pool, I'm gonna do the tax search and find those houses that may have some great equity built in that house and send that person a personal note and say, I have a buyer in your neighborhood, your house fits their criteria, have you ever thought of buying or selling? And I always say buying or selling because they have to buy a new house.
What do you mean by tax search?
Like I can actually do like an advanced search on the MLS, I should say.
Okay, but you go by taxes? in
No, I'm
general,
just saying.
or-
I should on the
I was
MLS
gonna say, are you
you
giving
can do
away
an
one of your
advanced
tricks to
search,
the
right?
trade?
And on your advanced search in the MLS is you can put in certain descriptions of a house that they want,
Right.
a ranch style, like I said, a pool, and then you can really go backwards to see what kind of equity they may have in that house.
Yeah, you know, like depending on which MLS you're using, it kind of gives you an idea of how much equity they have.
Right.
Or heck, you could even just go by based off of like last sold, just for the most generic search,
Right. Yeah.
so you could get a better idea. And then the only reason I know all this is just as an investor, I would do the same thing, but I'd be like, I want to buy your house.
So you're actually door knocking, looking for properties.
Oh, I love door knocking.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you explain a little further?
Well, I can strike up a conversation pretty quickly with anybody, so that's always a
Okay.
good thing. You have to be fearless when you door knock because not everybody likes their door knocked. I always beg for forgiveness versus permission. So
Okay.
I try to door knock in areas I think are relative. Like I just had a house that sold, so it makes sense that I'm there. Maybe I had a buyer that lost out on that offer, and they're looking in that neighborhood. So I try to make sense of where I door knock. Door knocking is more about taking a survey. What do you like about this neighborhood? It would have kept you here so long, and if you were to leave, where would you go?
But you seem a little bit more proactive. You said if your client was looking for a house with
Oh,
a pool,
yeah.
you'll search for a house that's off market
Yes.
and go door
And
knock it.
either door knock or I usually will send a letter first to the house and just say I have a client looking in your neighborhood.
Is that
give me
common?
Information.
Yeah, that's actually
Okay.
fairly common
New
for
to
me.
me.
Yeah, and then my follow up would be knocking on the door. Did you receive my letter? And there's just a conversation, and they may say no, but my neighbor 2 doors down, they may be thinking this, So it's just a conversation opener. But I think in this market, that's what I try to tell my buyers is, look, you're on Zillow all night long. You call that agent, you're not getting me. You're getting somebody who's paying for that advertising, right? So if you want to stick with me and work together with me, this is how I can market us together. And it doesn't always work, but it's a great tool to say, look, I'm not going to wait for the house to come up on the market. Let's go try to find your house that's out there.
And sometimes sellers don't want their houses shown on the market. They don't want posters in the front of
No,
the house.
some of them don't.
Yeah, that's how a lot of the top real estate agents throughout the state, they get their listings, they sell it off market because they have already this huge buyer pool at the moment, and just kind of like you were saying, there's like a very small amount of inventory at the moment, so you have to go find and make that inventory. But instead, certain sellers, they don't want to be showing 30, 40, 50 people the same house. They don't want to go through all that headache.
Yeah.
So you show it to 1 or 2 of your clients, and then you tell your clients, like, look, this is off market, like you have no competition. And then you give them that vision, like, look, you might not love everything about the house, like, let's say you love 80-90% of it. The rest of it, you could eventually down the line, like, oh, you don't like that bathroom, you could renovate that. You don't like this kitchen, you could change that.
Especially in
shout out to
this
Kitchen Design Lab.
Kitchen and bath.
Yeah,
kitchen and
and the
bath.
2 things you can't change are usually topography and location. So if you know that you don't want to have a house that's below grade or on a big hill or a steep incline, these are things that are never going to change, that you just have to adapt to. But I agree with you. It's like finding a spouse. You're never going to find the perfect one. You're going to hopefully get close to the things that really matter to you, right? And in this market, it's tough not to lose focus on those things because it's so fast and you don't get a lot of options. So you're buying it like you wanted a ranch and now you have a buy level. I try to make sure that my buyers get, like you say, a great percentage of things that really matter to them. Because in this inventory, you don't get to have everything. But like you said, renovation loans, renovation on the time, you renovate the kitchen, redo that, or add your outdoor space, which is really an option, especially when you don't find the house you like right now, to put the money into that and to make it your own.
Yeah, and another thing that you mentioned, like before, this is just such a random thing, but you mentioned it with a potential buyer that said, oh, they want a pool, for example. Like maybe you find a property that's big enough that has, like that's within the zoning regulations to have a pool,
Right.
and obviously get some sort of renovation loan down the line. And it's better than actually buying a property that had a pool, because you don't know how it was built. You don't know all the intricacies of that pool, what they might have skipped out on or what the troubles are. Yeah, you can have an inspection to to try to hedge some of that, but realistically you're not gonna get everything. You might not notice that they didn't do something that they should have done with that pool, versus now you're getting a new one, what's being done.
Yeah, well, hopefully then you also have, like I say,
and a warranty, hopefully.
yeah, right. That's
Shameless plug, if anyone's looking to pull any equity out of their house in less than 6 business days, you can hit me up at Joe Does Mortgages on Instagram, and
That's
I can
good.
walk you through
That's
the
true.
process.
That's what you get. Right? You build, and people since the pandemic, that's what they want. They want those outside spaces mostly. They want to have that retreat at home and to have that oasis at their house. So I think a lot of people have put more money into their outdoor spaces in the last few years.
Yeah.
Making it their own.
Yeah, our guest last week, Sebastian, he's a big contractor in the area. He was mentioning how just because the low interest rates for the last couple of years that we've had, now that the interest rates are so high, a lot of people don't want to get rid of their homes.
Oh, it's a
So
forever
instead-
interest rate to them, yeah.
Yeah, so instead they're actually renovating their properties and just staying put.
Yeah. Well, the interest rate's a mindset, right? Because you could look at my parents when they bought their house, 11,
So relative.
16%. I bought my house with an ARM back in 05, so but there's always these clever ways, right? Unfortunately, I really feel that interest rate went so low, everybody refinanced, so I call that a forever rate. They feel like, why am I going to leave?
They're golden handcuffs.
Right. And then you have young kids who are starting out now as an entry-level house is $300,000, which means you probably have to make in the area $65,000 to $75,000 to afford that. And then you're in an area where it's multiple bids because it's such a strong price point for first-time home buyers and for people that limited budget. So it's not easy. I mean, my kids, I said, either you love your mom because you're probably gonna live in my house a lot longer than you think, because it's hard to come off with maybe a possible student debt. Right, and now credit card rates are up and debt and rent, so it's tough for people. I think but a house is something that it's going to be secure your money at least to some degree if you don't overspend, and that's my job as your realtor is to make sure that we're competitive, but I don't want to overspend.
What's your forecast for 2024, even 2025? Where do you see the market going?
I think interest rates are probably going to stay where they're at or go a little bit lower, maybe a 5. I think renovation lending is going to be really big. I do. I like 203K loans. If anybody heard about them, it gives you the option to buy a house that needs improvement, that somebody's overlooking, that you can capitalize on putting those touches on that are yours. You get to personalize, you get to choose your contractor, choose your aesthetics and materials versus buying things that are done quickly. I think there's going to be a big inventory flux. I think people, if the interest rates come down a little bit, it's going to give that buyer who's hanging in there, maybe they want to downsize or relocate. I tell people very few people move to New Jersey, except from New York, and relocating. You're not getting somebody usually from California that's coming over, I want to move to Jersey. It's tough.
Right.
So we have to be thankful for the New York people. I thank them all the time because they really did increase my business. But I think that more people are going to be looking for lifestyle changes, downsizing, going into southern states, maybe warmer climates. I love the senior citizen community, whether they stay in place or should they go now. So I think there's going to be always a senior population that's always downsizing and going into assisted living, but those houses need the renovation. So that's where I think a buyer would be able to capitalize on a home that may not be pretty. They may not want to put it on Instagram the second they buy it, but in a year and a half, when you've done your work and you've built your equity and you're seeing your appraised value already grow, and it's in your pocket, I think that's where I see the market going. As houses are going to come up, but they're going to need some work,
Yeah, that's my take on it as well.
Yeah.
A lot of these older houses, if they're not getting knocked down, they're going to get rehabbed.
Yes.
Because I usually go out to open houses with my clients when I get the chance to.
Oh, good.
I go out, and a lot of the times you just tell by the look, this isn't it. But even the real estate agent will explain to me, we kind of had the conversation before. You got to kind of put the vision in a bit.
You do. I think so many people want instant gratification or just it's my house, and so you have to go back, I think, a little bit now and take advantage of those homes that are
Different
there
market.
in different market. Yeah.
Yeah. So, question: have you guys like seen anyone trying to get more creative with how they're purchasing properties nowadays because the interest rates have gone up? So,
Are you talking about Zillow 1%?
well, I mean, we could talk about that. If we
I'm glad
want,
you
but-
put it up. I don't
that could be one of the ways. Another way I was just like thinking about it because I was at a real estate networking event for investors and whatnot, and like one of the creative ways, Pace Morby kind of coined the term, like subject to, all that type of stuff. So, I'm just curious if you guys have had anyone like talk to you guys related to that, like either some sort of creative financing or even the Zillow 1% loans. And
Well, if you
whatnot.
want information on subject to, you go back into the Newbie Real Estate Podcast on YouTube,
Right.
and you'll find the episode if you look at the tag.
Yeah.
But I think subject to,
As
will
a mortgage
become-
guy, I know that's
it
what
doesn't
I
help
was-
me, right? It
Yeah,
doesn't
no,
put
I
food
know.
on my table, but I think it's gonna take off in a few years. Not necessarily 2024, but I think it'll become more common to do, where basically the seller becomes the bank.
Right.
And if if someone explains it to them properly and they get it, then why not do it?
Right.
Not go for it.
Yeah,
Especially when interest rates are at, 2.5%, 3.5%. It's free
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
I think it's it's just another tool in the tool belt. So, it's something where if you're a buyer, it's not bad to know about it. It's very similar to seller finance, if you will, subject to, whereas you're not assuming the loan. That's the big distinction. So where you're taking over the loan, but you're just taking over in terms of payments. Versus seller finance, you're taking over the seller is creating a brand new note on top of, let's say he already has an existing note, which is a mortgage wrap. So there's many ways for the seller to sort of get creative with you if they allow it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most of it's in the explanation of things, right?
It's in the explanation.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think if you were, let's say, a listing agent, that could open up opportunities for the seller, especially if the market slows down. So that's my
And
two
those real
cents.
estate agents that understand it more will be more advantageous than someone else that doesn't. Because if you listen to the Pace, they're bashing real estate agents all the
Right,
time.
right.
But it's just a matter of who understands and who doesn't. So you can't just say all real estate agents don't know what they're doing when it comes to subject to seller financing.
Yeah. Can't make that statement really for anything, right?
Right,
I mean,
exactly,
there's always
exactly.
there's always learning curve, right? I always tell people, like, just listening back to your few podcasts is learning more. When you're around people and you're conversating about real estate and things that are all relative, you're always picking up something, But I agree with, like, when I get a seller's concession, like, to explain it's prepaid buyer, like, you have to explain it because sometimes it just seems like, I'm paying for now.
How many times do you get, what happened to my money that I put
Right,
down?
right,
Where's
right.
my check?
Where's my check?
Where's the
True.
$5,000
And that's
that
right,
I,
right,
my
right,
initial
right, right.
deposit?
That's true.
I don't see it on this LE thing.
That's so true. So a lot of it, like you say, very in the explanation of it. And I like to know a certain amount and then I hand it over, right? I don't want to be the be-all of it all. I want to just know enough to get through and then leave it to the experts, and that's what I do is try to build, vendors and people I know.
But getting back to the Zillow thing.
Yeah, actually kind of.
So if you guys have maybe seen this on the news recently, that Zillow is offering a 1% down payment option. Okay, it's true, right?
Okay.
It's not but what happens with the media sometimes is that they'll leave out a lot of information. It was the same thing that happened a few months back. I don't know if you remember, where the media took something where FHA was now offering a 40-year term mortgage.
Right.
Yes, for people that were in crisis with COVID in 2023. It wasn't for new purchases.
Right.
So they'll sometimes leave certain details out. And same thing with Zillow. My bank is offering the same product.
Okay.
Rocket Mortgage is offering the same product. United Wholesale Mortgage is offering the same product. all it is a home ready, home possible loan where they're giving you up to an additional $4,000 for your down payment and closing. So you'll put down the 1% and then they'll come up with up to $4,000.
Okay.
How far $4,000 will get you in this market, I'm not sure. Plus, with home possible, home ready, there are income limitations.
Okay.
And debt to income limitations. There's a lot of not restrictions, but the guidelines are a lot. They're not as flexible as an FHA or another standard conventional loan. That's all it is.
Right.
So
I
Gotcha.
that's my take on that.
So I know you kind of mentioned about the 40-year loans as well.
I went crazy once I figured out what was going on, and it wasn't. It was just like a half truth, if you want to call it. We're not going to call them just being deceptive. But they don't have any interest in it. They're not a mortgage company. It's just that they take what the hot take is and information, and that's all you hear from the media sometimes.
Yeah. I look at Zillow like this. It's almost like me in my world now listing a property. I list a property, it goes on Zillow. It's actually the quickest change around is Zillow. It's like 32 minutes or something. Everything changes, and they take my buyer leads now. Like I don't it's almost like
my next question.
Yeah, it's like me buying a couch and I put it in my showroom, and you come into my showroom and take a picture of the couch and sell it online and want me to pay for that buyer to buy my couch. I'm like, but it's in my showroom.
Kind of reminds me of this company with an orange logo that starts with an A, where people were posting products on their site to sell, and then they were just imitating it, and now selling it at a lower cost.
That's the difference when you mentioned about my mother. I can't captivate as many buyers as I could from my listings unless I host the open houses, which I love to host. But unless I'm going to pay Zillow killer payments, I'm not capitalizing any of those buyer leads on Zillow. So they have to know me. And I have to say to my clients, like, you finding a house becomes your second job. So I'll put you on the list, the alerts, I'll check the hot sheets in the morning, but if you see a house you like, screenshot it and send it to me. Let me look at the seller's disclosure. Let me see if I could do some background in the text for a lot of people who are interested in the flood zones and stuff. But you have to connect with these buyers, letting them know that I'm taking time out of my life with my children to have a career. And I need you to be as much, to me, I think we have to be on the team.
Involved.
You have to be involved, and you have to have trust in me, and you have to not just contact listing agent, because you're most of the time not getting that agent who has listed and marketed that property with their money, right? So that's what it's really hard to express that to people, because real estate's so fast right now with the internet and the way they're able to just find everything.
If only like the car industry had the same sort of regulations where everyone had a number that you could just look them up and see when they got licensed.
Yeah.
A lot of places would be more in business than others. I think.
True. The one thing I can tell you about licensees is your license number starts off with the first 2 digits of the year you're licensed.
With real estate agents?
Yes. So if their license number is 1625, 2016. If it's 85, it was 1985.
I guess ours is 1 year behind.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can
Mine
tell
starts
that
with
if
a
you know the
20.
number, you can tell when they were licensed based on that number. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
You didn't realize that.
Yeah. And it's curious to find out. We would talk about this. How many people became realtors during pandemic? Home, taking it online, $400 a class max to $200 in certain areas, thinking it's easy. And then look at the last 2 years, things were evolving and moving. Now you're going to see about 200,000 people, I think, change out of real estate.
My friend works for a debt consolidation company, and on their website, when you go to apply, they have a slot. If you know how they say experience with banking, no experience, right?
All right.
They actually ask you if you were a mortgage banker.
Wow.
One of the drop downs is, are you a mortgage banker?
Oh, wow.
For a debt consolidation company.
Wow.
It's amazing. Getting back to the listings, are you familiar with the term trigger leads?
No.
Okay. All it means, you buy leads.
Okay, yeah.
They're called trigger leads,
Okay.
right? Do you use that service at all from Zillow and Redfin?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
It's a big thing in the mortgage industry right now.
I do a seller lead for sellers right now, because buyers can drive you around a lot. And it's been tough to have a buyer right now because, like I said, there's such little inventory. So, and listings do bring you leads, which is always good. I love both sides to help first-time home buyers mostly, and But as far as paying for a lot of leads, no. I like to, and like I said, maybe I'm not capitalizing on a few things, but I do more door knocking and more events. I run more things for the town committee.
You're a people person.
Right. I'd rather be in public places and go to a business and promote that business while I'm there and build connections like that. I think that is how I plant my seeds in business. Because it's a lot of money to go out. I tell people, and that's why I love to run a kitchen, because I have a great analogy. Real estate's like spinach. I tell people, you buy spinach, and you dump it all, and then you cook it down. That's real estate. But I tell people, people like, oh, you sold $1 million house, you made $1 million. No, I had to market that property. I had to put $1,500 to $2,000 out of my pocket, and time at the open houses.
They don't understand that.
They don't understand all that little stuff. And so I tell people it's like spinach. I have to pay for the marketing now to put out flyers to capitalize more listings in the neighborhood. So every time I have a sale, I need to put money back into my business. And every time I have a sale, I got to pay my broker, then I got to pay my account, and it trickles down. It's wonderful, delicious spinach, but you don't start off with what you end up with. And that's a really big misconception, I think, with first-time agents coming into this market is you think you're just going to make this money, but you have to reinvest it into yourself if you're going to make it long-term.
Yeah, I feel like that's most businesses in general, which
people don't understand.
Yeah, people don't understand that because I know for real estate investors, at the end of the HUD, the closing statements, everything, you see the big numbers,
Exactly.
how much the investor made, but you're not including how much the investor had the renovation costs that weren't necessarily attached to that, not including the investor costs, how much they
doesn't Home Depot finance that for you? Zero down, zero interest.
I heard
That's
Zillow's
what
on
I
that too.
They don't include a lot of the soft costs. Heck, they don't even include a lot of the hard costs either. Yeah. But still, it's just let's say it shows you make $100,000. After you break it down, realistically, it's half that. And then Uncle Sam wants to take his piece too. Right. So yeah, it's a lot tougher.
Either but you give it, or they take it by force.
Yeah. Exactly.
Very true. Very true.
But with the trigger leads, the reason I brought it up, a lot of lenders have adjusted with trigger leads. So essentially, what's happening right now for any of you guys that are in the market to buy a house right now, there's not very much, but probably a small audience that we're talking to right now. You should be asking your lender, how are you going to run my credit?
Okay.
So at my bank, and a lot of banks have adjusted this, we're doing soft credit checks now on the initial application. So when you walk away with a pre-approval, it's done in most cases with a soft credit check. And then before we go to closing, right when everything gets to the underwriter, there's going to be a hard credit check. Because what's happening is it's not, every bank has a third-party company that they work with, right, for any questions regarding to a credit pull. And then there's the actual credit departments, right? Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, right? Unfortunately, what's happening is once that hard pull is done, they're then selling that information to loan officers, real estate agents,
so you're waiting.
other websites that pull that they'll sell the leads, they'll recycle them and resell them again. And then so what's happening is you get off the phone with your loan officer or your bank or what have you, and then an hour later you're like, oh, I heard you were in the market for a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
So what the client's initially going to think is, this guy went and gave my information out to everybody. You know what I mean? But that's not the case. So unfortunately, it's happening from the actual credit bureaus.
And there's no way to stop that.
No, there is legislation that they're working on. I know one of the congressmen from New York is working on it, but I haven't heard much of it. So that they're trying to stop them from doing that.
Yeah.
So ask your lender. How is my initial credit report going to be pulled?
Okay.
Yeah. It's also interesting you mentioned that. I understand on the front end why that it could be an issue, but then on the back end it could also be an issue for the seller, because let's say they did a soft pull and there wasn't anything too crazy, but then later on when they're okay, we're gonna do the hard pull, let's say something changes, within that.
Well, some of them, that's a good point, Jonathan. Some of them are just pulling one bureau.
Okay.
Oh, that's even
And
worse.
you're walking away with the pre-approval with just one bureau. As we know, our credit score is a big flower, right? It has
Right.
different parts to it. I do it with a 3 tri-merge. I do all 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing that, but it works,
So,
right?
and kind of what you had said, like if I get multiple offers, my job is to speak out to the lender. Usually it's my first phone call, right? To
Right.
build a rapport and also
Right.
to know. So if I were reaching out to you, it would behoove me to say, did you pull a soft or a hard?
It's a great question.
Right.
I'm not giving out any, personal or financial information about the buyer. Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely, it's definitely a question you should be asking.
Yeah,
nowadays.
and if, like you mentioned, if it's one bureau or all 3.
Well, here's
Yeah.
my question. Let's say you are one of my top few offers, and I call you and you've only pulled a soft credit. Can I say to
She's
you?
got me on my toes right now.
Can I say to you, look, if you want to position your buyers,
Ring, ring.
could you run a hard credit for me?
This is
and get me?
interaction that a lot of buyers don't realize is happening on the back end or not happening on the back end.
Right.
Your real estate agent and your loan officer or the bank should be best friends
Yes.
even after transaction
Right.
happens.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, you were
No,
asking.
no. So that would be my question. Is look, your client's presented an offer.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of the top offers we want to go back to. Did you pull a soft or hard? You say soft, and
Mm-hmm.
I say to you, look, my sellers and I would like to go back to you. Could you pull a hard credit on them and get back to me in what time frame to let me know if they're 100% viable?
Talking
Is
about
that-
today?
I'm just curious. Yeah, how long
Is
does
it
take?
today?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
First call will be to the buyer. Hey,
Okay.
listen, the buyer, the seller agent just called me
Okay.
and they asked me about the credit pull. And you've already put in your offer. Hasn't been accepted yet.
Okay.
But it would behoove you to allow me to do the credit pull. Now it's going to get done no matter what eventually, right?
Exactly.
Just be aware that you're going to get a bunch of 1-800 numbers and 908 numbers or 201 numbers that you don't recognize once I pull this credit.
Okay. I gotcha.
It's not going to hurt them. It's just unfortunately going to get a lot of,
Now question
crazy
here.
phone calls at all times of
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
Question here because my partner Joey and I, we got a very interesting deal that we finally closed on, but it was either I'm not gonna name them, but it was definitely either an unethical buyer's agent or unethical lender or a mix of the both.
Okay.
Whatever. But so we had 2 offers on the table at the beginning. One was, I think, what was it, 30K higher? Like the price point? Joey?
No, they were the same
No,
offer.
I swear the buyer for Eaton.
No, the initial offer. So the first time we had an offer was like 50K, 55K higher. That was our first round, right?
Well, yeah, no, I'm not talking about that
Yeah.
time. I'm talking about later on.
The second.
The second time.
The second time, I
This
think.
is the one that didn't appraise, right? This is the one you guys mentioned before?
Yeah. So the second one was roughly around the same. We had the 2 offers; they were around the same.
I'm pretty sure it was at least like 20K higher. In the
It
offer
wasn't,
price.
unfortunately. We would have
But
took that.
Anyways, long story short, our agent said no to one of the offers because it had a loan program like that needed a state grant. And we said, okay, that's fine. We don't need that because that
It's
would
residential, right?
Yeah, residential,
Okay.
and it would have taken longer. So
Depends on the grant, but go ahead. That's another conversation.
okay, so then later on, we went with the original offer because like the way that it sounded, that they had the money in hand, ready to close, but then later on they had to come back and say, oh, we're doing the state grant.
Yeah.
The same.
That's a question for you.
Yeah. It's a good
Is
question.
that ethical? Or did they break any rules? Or
Look, ethics are what you're doing. No one's watching. I tell people. So I don't know. Actually, it's hard to put together a.
has that happened to you before?
No. Not
Because
not
I
that's-
know a lot of agents, they say originally that it's conventional. Then the second
Oh, yeah.
you're under contract, then
go to
they're like, oh, we
FHA.
need to go FHA.
And then I go, well, I'm gonna have you talk to my lender because we want to keep this conventional. So, but that happens a lot. At an FHA, look, there's nothing wrong. It's just an appraisal sticks with an FHA loan for 6 months. There's a little bit more of a secondary inspection, but it depends on. Look, certain areas you're gonna get more FHA loans than other areas. Certain areas will just
In
predict
some
that.
cases, they're actually a lower. You
Yeah.
can save $200 to $300 a month on an FHA versus a conventional right
Right.
now with the insurance premium adjustments now, and the adjustments on conventional loans have
Right.
gotten higher.
It's true. And so I think you have to look
What-
at all. That's my job.
What
is
did
to
you guys end up doing?
Oh, I mean, we had to close with them still because we were under contract, and if not, then we would have had to get back on the market, and interest rates went up even
Would you
more.
happen to know what grant program they were using?
I know it was a state program.
Did they mention an amount?
I think it was like 10 grand.
It was
So
in
heavy
South
for-
Jersey.
Yeah.
No, it was
Middlesex
it was,
County?
Essex County,
Oh.
10,000?
East Orange.
I don't know that one. I know that the city does. They offered like 25 grand, but that's gonna take like 6 months to close.
Yeah.
No, it was. They said it was a state grant.
Oh, okay. So there is one by NJ. I always mess up the acronym. NJHM. NJHMFA. They're offering.
That's it.
Gotcha. That they're offering up to 15,000. Maybe
Okay,
they didn't
maybe-
use all the funds. It's up to 15,000 in most of the northern counties. So Passaic, Union, Essex, Middlesex, I think is included, and then any of the southern counties, they'll offer up to 10,000.
Yeah.
I'm on the call with these guys. This is
Yeah.
great that you brought that up. I'm on the phone with these guys like every couple of weeks on Zoom calls with them. Did it take any additional? This is great. I'm glad you brought this up. Did it? How much extra from your experience did it take to close that loan?
Another at least 30 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. From
From
there.
30 days from the original closing date, so we were supposed to close.
Oh, so
July
it took 30 days to close.
No, it was okay. No, it was 45 days to originally close.
Okay.
But then another 30 days after that is when we actually closed. So the closing date was July 17th.
So it took 55 days.
No,
s-
75.
75 days.
Yeah.
Because of that grant.
Did they have to extend their rate for that?
I don't
The rate-
care. I
the-
hate them. But
The program, they dictate the rate.
They do. Okay.
There's no points, and there is no you can't buy down the rate. Nothing. The program dictates the rate.
Okay.
So-
The biggest thing with this one was that there was no communication whatsoever.
That's
And
So
it's-
so
well,
that's
okay,
where
if
yeah, there was no communication from the lender or the buyer's agent.
yeah.
Like they both just went silent.
Yeah.
And anytime our agent tried to ask them about things, basically he got kicked out of the group emails, and it was just directly discussed with our attorney,
Yeah.
which then our attorney would have to return to us.
Did you go on Zillow and give that buyer, that seller agent a pat?
Oh no, I was gonna go. I still haven't done it yet, but I'm going all over social media to bash both of them. I don't care. I'm not an agent right now.
It wasn't
so.
Danielle, was it?
No.
No, not me.
Oh no, she wouldn't be on the show.
It wasn't us, was it?
Oh yeah, let me know. I'll be glad to get on any platform and just give them a terrible review. You know, if I can give them 0, I'll give them 0.
That's unfortunate. From the way they explained it, they said it's supposed to add maybe additional week and a half to 2 weeks
Right.
to a loan.
Oh, it was way more.
Yeah,
But
it was-
I'm not trying to defend the program, right? But it could have been other factors as well.
Mhm.
You know, if it was a direct lender or was it brick and mortar?
I have no idea.
That sometimes plays a factor too.
Well, I guess after the offer, which I call the proposal, right? Because that's all it is it becomes meeting the parents and conversations and cultivating our response and our, like I said, with title, and it's all behind the scenes of just making sure you communicate with all the parties behind. Because once that offer is set, that's when all the background stuff happens, you know.
Did you see anyone at the closing?
Oh no, I wasn't at the closing.
Oh, okay.
Nobody goes to closings anymore.
I still go.
No, that's good.
We signed like literally 3 weeks before the closing.
No, we signed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We signed 2 weeks before like 2-3 weeks before the
Yeah.
original closing.
Right.
So, yeah, it was like our signatures have been like dry for like
Yeah.
Wow,
forever
that's
by
unfortunate.
that point.
But you got it closed eventually.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Still
other
a bad
unethical stuff that was done too by the agent. I'm pretty sure it's by the agent, but you know I'm not gonna get into that more detailed.
Yeah, sure.
Can't wait to look up this tax record.
Propstream.com.
But the truth is, like, people do business with who they like. So if you leave an imprint behind, next time I see your name, if I get multiple offers and there's an agent who I know is not responsive, hard to deal with, it makes you think. It makes me say to my seller, look, I've had a relationship with this I've known kind of how they work. Is this something that you're willing to take on? That's a risk. That could be a risk to work with certain
sometimes
agents.
people think that just because they must have made a higher offer.
No.
You know, explain further. Like,
oh well, I'll tell you
it's a
right
lot
now.
of
I had a dual agency, which I just mentioned, and there were higher offers than ours by but we were waiving full appraisal. We didn't even conduct an inspection. They completely didn't conduct an inspection. And for me, so you always see, it's not always the highest. It's the less risk.
was this
usually
house
in this
completely?
market.
Has it been renovated? Is it a new build?
It was a house I had sold 3 years ago, so it was in the same condition, except it had a new roof, a new heating system, which is your
Right.
worry-free stuff, right? And that's coming with a guarantee.
So that's why the waiver appraisal made sense.
That's why, yeah. So we kind of felt we knew where it was at. It happened in 3 or 4 years, but for the most part, it was pretty, confident that they were buying a good house, So that's where it comes down to multiple offers, knowing who you're working with, and it's not just the offer; it's who you're working with. Who's their attorney? Is he going to vacation for 3 weeks? That's important to me,
Right. Yeah, I just
I
came back
tell
from
people,
Colombia.
that's what I'm saying. And not that I wouldn't use
working
people, but
with
it's just you have to know how the deal's going. If you're going to be away and out of communication, and your wife's getting, you're getting remarried, these are things that are going to take you away from communicating properly to get it to the finish line. So. That's why in this market, multiple bids are wonderful, but moving forward, sometimes you only get one offer, if
Except
not.
in the smart offer.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, trust me, I get
You
what you're
guys go
saying
through
with
this all the
that.
time.
Oh no, there's certain lenders, there's certain agents, there's certain investors, wholesalers. Everyone in the real estate industry, there's certain people that I know for a fact we don't talk to or don't associate with, just because of how they work or their shady practices.
I've only been in Jersey for 6 years, and I've kind of been in and out of real estate for the last 3 years, right? Since meeting you guys. For you future investors, flippers, in northern Jersey, everyone knows each other. It's like the 7 degrees, the Kevin Bacon thing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone, you may get away with doing someone dirty, for lack of better words, that one time,
Right.
but I guarantee you it won't happen another, because everyone knows each other. It's a very small circle, like north of Edison, let's say, of Middlesex
Okay,
County.
yeah.
Everyone knows each other. All the construction guys know each other. The wholesalers, the flippers, they all know each other, and your name will get drugged to the dirt.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Especially the guy that they just closed with. He or she.
They were both she's.
Okay.
If you can say that still.
Oh god.
That's a whole other.
But yeah, so Danielle,
Yeah.
question: Do you deal with real estate investors often, or?
I've had to be honest with you, now new construction is going to start making a bigger wave, I think, because I think the prices of houses have gone up now. That new construction, although is always higher, it's really about 96% difference now.
Get a
It's really-
better deal, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's getting close.
Unfortunately, because
now.
I don't get to work with those
Right.
types of buyers.
So I do think that new construction in 2008 took a hold, and that's why I think we have an inventory kind of. We don't have much inventory now, so I think new construction is going to be bigger coming forward. I think a lot of clients and buyers are going to look into that. I like it. I have a 100-year-old colonial, so you couldn't probably sell me a brand new. I love the old world. I do love that, but in New Jersey, most houses are 50-year plus older, right? If not more. So they need renovations. There's not a lot of space to build, so it depends on where you want to live. But I do see some new construction coming, and I think more and more first-time home buyers are going to jump into that, saying that the cost is not that high as it used to be.
I live in Elizabeth, and on my side of Elizabeth, the entire town is being reconstructed.
Yeah.
I kid you, I'm not exaggerating. On every corner, there's a a cottage
Yeah.
being knocked down, and they're building two family houses, sometimes 3 family houses.
Yeah, I
on
sold a
the-
few in the Elmore section on Holstead over the last few years.
I'm
Nice
on the
area.
opposite side.
Opposite. It's nice. It's nice. I mean, look, I'm from Piscataway, like where Gherald's from. I wanted to live in a smaller town, and I like my small town, but I miss the opportunities that big towns have too. So I think when you're buying a house, it's more than just the house. You have to look at the lifestyle and the amenities of the town around that house. It's all people like to buy houses in good school districts. What does a good school district mean to you? You need to do that research. What does it mean to you? For us, we had a very diverse high school, and I love that, right? It was also a big high school where it had freshman JV varsity sports and ROTC, and you know, my township doesn't have all that because the class sizes are 130 kids, so they don't have all the sports and all that. So there's things to think about when you're moving, because I do believe if you look at the statistics, most people live in their house between like 5 and 8 years, but most people I know, I'm 22 years in my house now. Like it starts to build, and you build roots in your house, and it's hard to put roots up. So I really push myself to be the lifestyle finder, because I think it's more than just a house. And just like you said, I think you'll learn to live with things in your house that you don't love, but if you don't love the land and the neighborhood and the amenities that the town offers and the proximity, the things that bring you joy and pride, then that's something to really think about when you buy a house, you know. And I feel bad for buyers in this market because I think they're shopping a price point. I mean, I'm in Hunterdon County with a buyer, and then in Edison 45 minutes later, because we're shopping a price point. So we're kind of hitting all these areas, and you're like, how could you buy a house in Sayreville if you just loved Hunterdon County? So I have to make sure that they understand that's a lifestyle.
Are they factoring where they live
That's
and the
what I'm saying.
proximity to work?
You can't just. I feel bad because the inventory is so low. I feel like buyers are shooting a price range versus this is where I want to live. This is the exact location. I think they're sacrificing a little bit. I think that's something that's going to have a lot more remorse than I didn't get the 4th bedroom. I only have 3 bedrooms. You know, I think that remorse of not buying in the right neighborhood with what you're looking for as a lifestyle could be a really bad choice.
When I moved to Jersey and I was still working in the Bronx, and I moved to Elizabeth, I would take my motorcycle to work just to avoid the traffic.
Okay. You were that guy.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Question for you guys, because I've noticed this at least in my hometown of Belleville. So there's a little bit of new construction, like as far as the residential side of things, but I've noticed a lot more new construction when it comes to like commercial, like let's say
what's that,
Multifamily.
larger.
what's that avenue?
multifamilies.
Bloomfield? That's not Bloomfield.
Belleville Ave?
Belleville Ave, right?
Belleville Ave or Washington Ave?
Washington. There you go. Pardon.
Yeah,
I've only
Washington.
been here 6 years. Don't kill me.
Yeah, no, I could drive around the town and I know all the new construction buildings going up and everything, and I'm like, yes, because we have a 6-family house,
Well, my take, when you see these big Vermella buildings
Yes.
and all these other I call them the hedge fund buildings.
Yeah.
When I look at them, the way I receive it is those companies, those Wall Street guys, they're saying you don't deserve to own a house, and we're just going to make you renters for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because they can build townhouses, they can build condos, they can build 2-family houses on those same lots.
Yeah, but
You know,
no, you're right.
But they're saying that's not our end game. That's not where we make our money. We're just going to make people renters. That's
Well, I think-
that's
yeah.
every time I see them. That's how I
Well,
look at it.
I think it's more of a feasibility thing and like the highest use of resources.
Highest
and
use on return of
and
profit.
highest return on investment.
Right.
Because like I mean, I think anyone would kind of agree with me. Like if you could make $100,000 or if you're gonna make $1 million, which one would you choose?
Take the $1 million.
Right, but the difference is like when I grew up, it was a garden apartment. Now they're high end. I mean, they're making them very, very high end.
They got movie theaters, bowling, but then they're charging you for the amenities.
So I actually ran Riva in Norway for many years. That was my building down there.
Okay.
It was like 250 units. I mean, some of them were big, but they had the big amenities. You know, they had the gym that was open all the time.
But they charge you for the amenities.
Oh yeah, but
So
you
it's
can
not
tell,
part of your
right,
lease.
Right,
It's
right,
an additional $250 plus the parking.
right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you gotta milk it, right?
And
no,
pet
but-
fees
but-
and pet fee, right?
But the thing is, because we live so close to New York City, like I live in New York now, but like the thing is, like we live so close to New York City that it like kind of has that trickle down effect that people that want to spend a little less
Moving one piece of crap to another piece.
Well, I mean, the average Manhattan apartment is $5,500 now.
Wow.
To start.
Yeah, to start.
1 year lease.
Yeah.
And how much does it go up after the year after?
No, I'm saying this was last year. I think it was like 4,200. Dead serious.
Wow.
So is that like 10%?
More.
42 to 55, 13.
A lot of times, what I learned is personally, it's not the building owners. A lot of times, it's the property managers. I don't know if you guys can expand on that.
Well, you also got to think of like because of COVID regulations and how much investors have lost.
Yeah, that's it.
they're trying to recoup.
My experience, I was living, you familiar with Forest Hills?
Yeah.
Queens, very
Yeah.
ritzy neighborhood. And this is like 15 years ago. And I moved in, like, oh my God, you guys are fancy. We're in Forest Hills. I'm like, no, it's only $14.50 for a 1-bedroom. 2 blocks from the train to go into Manhattan. What?
Wow.
And the last month's free. What? By the time I left 4 years later, the rent was $2,200.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing in like both.
Some areas have caps, but I don't know if New York has a cap on what they know. Right?
They didn't have it at that time.
No.
No, not most places.
But it was the
that I'm aware
property
of.
managers that were boosting it up, and the owners, the building owners, they just reap in the benefits, and
Right.
they basically let the property. The way I look at it, they let the property managers do the dirty work, and they just start raising rents, because they're getting a commission for that as well.
Right? Probably so.
Well, it's also this generation, if you really think about it, how, well, okay, most of the people in, like Gen Z that are looking to buy a house, they can't afford it.
Right.
The ones that do want, or can afford it, have a lifestyle that they want more of the amenities, and they don't want to think about things that they have to fix. They want to be able to call someone to fix it for them.
Instant. They don't. Yeah.
So
And now with so many people relocating, and
Yeah, that's
working
what
from
And I gotta
home.
say, I think the floods that have happened the last few years have put a lot of hesitation on my buyers.
I was gonna ask you,
Yeah.
but how do you handle those houses down in Middlesex with the flood zones?
It's hard. It's real. I have people. If you've gone through, like my one client, they grew up in Cranford. So they've known
They
it.
go through it as well.
So they don't want to deal with anything. They could find the most perfect house. If it's anywhere near water, they will not buy it. Certain people are just so strong. Even if you have insurance and you're protected, I think with Ida, it changed a lot of buyers' opinions on where they want to put their house and what they want to go through, even if you can rebuild. So it's not easy. If I list a house in a flood zone, I make sure to have as many information as I can. I want to have a couple policies there to show them. A lot of times I'll have the seller offer the first year just to kind of comfort. But I think a flood zone is unless you're buying a beach house, which you're going to be in a flood zone, I think it's really hard.
Sometimes I'll get leads, and again, I'm not originally from New Jersey, and they're like, oh, great income, credit score is awesome. And I'm like, so where are you looking to buy? And they're like, Somerset. I'm like, did you see that it's a flood zone? They're like, what?
Yeah. And there's different, it's all relative, but I think it's tough. If you've been through a flood, to go through it again, or if you've seen somebody go through something. A lot of first-time home buyers need their parents' help, and parents will go, they don't want to put their money to something where they think it could be, have a devastation towards it. So I think, and now they're building all over the place. Where's the water going to go? I'm always concerned now. It's just more concrete and asphalt. Where is all this water going to go when we have our next
Did you see
storm?
Hoboken's genius fix to the flooding?
What?
They put up barricades. So
did
when
they?
a certain block will flood out, they have this little barricade. Well, next time you're in Hoboken, look at
So
them. They'll just put
they're
the barricade.
channeling the water?
No, they're just channeling people not to go down the
Down
block
the
because the barricade's up.
That's funny. Well, hey, I mean, what is it? New York sinks every 2-3 centimeters per year or something like that.
That and it's like Southern California. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We're all been through a lot.
Yeah,
What do we got here?
it's rough.
7 minutes? Okay, gotcha.
So you gave us your forecast. You don't think the housing market is gonna? Do you think it's gonna implode?
No,
As
I don't
the
think so.
media
I
is
have
saying?
to say, I don't know the statistics, but in so many crises, the housing market's the one that stands strong usually. It's almost like you just can't pull your money out until you're ready if you drop slow. I don't think we're going to have the same issue we had in, back in 09.
It's
It's
not
not
the
going to
same.
same at all, so I don't think that's going to happen. I think people are very equity rich. I would say probably about 52% of the nation is equity rich in their house. So,
But we're gonna see what happens when these student loans start to come due.
yeah.
That
Yeah, they
I think
they
that
just started back up, didn't they?
this September.
Yeah,
In September.
September 1st
Yeah.
they start back up.
You'd be surprised how many borrowers I talked to that didn't even put their old loans in forbearance. So they
Wow.
can't handle just that simple task. No disrespect to any of my borrowers that are out there. imagine what's going to happen when these loans come due. They're just going to forget about it, and then they're not going to know until they start getting those delinquency letters and their credit starts crashing.
Yeah.
It's
No, as a
unfortunate.
mother who just embarked my son going to college, I can tell you, it's, college is an equal career. For many people, if they know what they want to do, it's great. But for my son, he's going to take a year of just community, figure out a branch that he really likes. And I think that's a smart choice. I think it's hard to get caught up with, the mom's wearing the sweatshirt and the sticker on the back of the car is nice and all, but I think we have to be,
mom?
right. I think we have to be smart right now. I think, the trades, I know just hiring an electrician or a plumber or getting stuff done is hard to find. Most of my plumbers say when they go take a retraining class, at 45, they're one of the youngest in the class because everybody is a veteran.
Plumbers have to take a retraining class?
Yeah.
Really?
Every
They got CE credits too?
yeah, pretty much.
Right? Yeah. So
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
It's one of those things, as like I said, that my life as a cosmetologist and then a real estate agent, I've become an entrepreneur. I'm very self-motivated, which is, I think, harder for this generation, is to be self-motivated because you have to push yourself. And it's so easy for them to just sit back and watch.
I think it starts in the playgrounds, and no one's in the playground. No one's jumping rope. No one's falling off the top of the top of the jungle gym.
It's true.
I know.
I try to raise my kids to be like that and to to keep their innocence.
We have
as long
such
as I
beautiful
could.
parks here in Jersey as well. It's a shame.
Funny enough, like I was actually watching a TikTok earlier today about how the requirements for PE or gym
less
during
and less.
college
I
totally
can't
changed.
wait to hear this one.
Back in the 1960s, JFK proposed that the requirement for you to graduate, and get approved for, in your PE class was for you to be able to do at least 16 push-ups.
Oh, right.
16 push-ups. You're supposed to be able to do, I think, at least 8 pull-ups. No, yeah. Oh, sorry. To be like the blue team, whatever they called it, but to be like the highest echelon of in PE to get 100% or whatever, you need to be able to do 16 pull-ups.
Wow.
And what's the requirement now?
Oh, there isn't one.
Oh, okay.
Can you spell pull up?
Probably not even that.
No, like I said, look, I remember that the presidential clubs and stuff, and you had and in school, you knew who couldn't do anything, right? Because it was all there.
Yeah,
They couldn't handle that today.
They couldn't.
List. No list.
Right? So that's it.
Everyone gets a gold star today.
Yeah, no, it was it's funny. Apparently, 1 in 6 people are at least obese in the United States alone.
Oh, it's going to triple in the next 10 years, I say too. Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah. No, it's becoming, like I say, the problem is just the food that we eat, the amount that you don't move as much. I have a 13-year-old at home, and I left him on his computer today. I'm like, get out, go.
That's not bad.
And he'll go, but it's not easy. It's not like there's not that many kids pulling you outside either. The door's not knocking all the time either. It's just a different kind of lifestyle, which is why I say I like in Springfield, we have parks. They can go get an ice cream.
Beautiful
They can get
parks.
a slice of pizza, and they can kind of acclimate their alone. Where I lived in Piscataway, you could be 6 miles from somebody that was in your school, and all these roadways, so much different, but they don't utilize it as much. It's a shame.
And so Danielle, how can people reach out to you? Do you have a social media, Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, I'm on it's funny. You should be all over social media, and I do like Facebook. I struggle on all platforms because I think it could be a very big time suck. As I mentioned, senior citizens are a really big part of my business, and so for that, they're not on social media. So a lot of times I do grassroots. I run bingo at the hall. I'm part of the Elks Club. I go on Thursday nights. So I really just try to invest myself into my community. So you can always find me on Facebook, Danielle Piccolo. Lifestyles by Danielle is my website. And of course, as a realtor, my phone is always available. So that would be 732-261-4133. And yeah, looking forward
Text
to
and call. Text
call. I'll usually answer as best as I can to my best ability. But yeah, look forward to talking to anybody and how we can pursue. I would say sometimes you're not buying a house tomorrow. It's just setting yourselves up with the lender, getting your credit in order, making small choices that will propel you and prepare you for the future to buy a house.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I'm Joe. Joe does mortgages on all social media. If you're looking to buy your first home or an investment property, or pull out some equity out of your house without having to reset your current interest rate, your rate will stay the same.
Oh, that's good to know.
We have a great product for that. I can be reached at 908-669-9091.
That's good to know. I like that.
Awesome. And Cheryl?
Yeah, I'm Gherald, and I'm with Talent and Skills. So if you got talent or know any talent or want, any actors, singers, dancers, models, comedians, look me up. Just look up Talent and Skills. We're everywhere.
Nice.
Awesome. And then, thanks to our sponsor here at Kitchen Design Lab, shameless plug. And also...
What exactly do you guys do again?
I don't know. Something with kitchens.
Gotcha.
But also, JMJ Capital, we buy houses. So if you have any deals, feel free to send them our way.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
See you.